G.G. Blankies proudly presents Musings with Steve and Teresa. They're here to enlighten, entertain, and inform about issues they think are important. They want people to think about how positive actions make positive people. Their show is captured and linked to YouTube. The programs are listed in the archives of both Blog Talk Radio and YouTube video, and you can watch it as well as listen. Now on with the show.
And this one behind me here I call jewel stripes because it has a jewel tone ribbon just like this one, and it's just your basic stripes, and I kind of like it, but I think it's stripes on both sides. If I have a lot of something, I put it on both sides, but they're available. You can order them on Facebook or go to our website, and which is on the ends and the beginning of the video here. And
what, we got $10 in shipping included now?
well, right now until we're having a clearance
PayPal?
special, and yeah, we do PayPal on the internet, or if you're in Scioto County, I'll bring it over to your house. You know, and hand deliver. So check us out.
Fantastic. Well, as I said, we wanted to talk about how starting the areas or the attitude of starting a small business. Now, I noticed in my notes I was making here, starting a small successful business as opposed to just making it's a small concept, but you got to sit down and think about this whole thing. Is what are you trying to do? And you should take notes.
Yeah, you should take
because
notes.
You need to go back later on, evaluate, and see if your thinking process was correct. But what do you want to do? You're going to do a sales or a service or information. Is it supposed to be profitable or non-profitable or future profitable? I say that because I knew a guy that I met him at a trade show. And he mixed up furniture polish in his garage and put them in these bottles and sold them at the convention centers. He'd usually get a local lady to help him sit the booth. And he did this for about 3 or 4 years. He'd mix up a barrel or a big tub of this stuff and put it in the bottles, and he put the labels on, and he would carry them off and he'd sell them to the trade show for, I don't remember what it was, $1 or $2, like snake oil medicine.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he called his lady friend there, and this is how I heard the story. He says, "You got $200?" And she says, "Yeah." And he says, without any questions, "Can you send it to me?" And she said, "Yeah, I will do that." And about a week later, he comes back and he gives her stock certificates. He had sold his furniture polish to Pledge. It was going nationwide, being manufactured, and he had spent 5 years selling out of the back of his car to get to the point where, well, anyway, she bought a new car and took a Caribbean cruise out of. She sold half of the stock that he'd given her for $200, and put the rest of it in a retirement fund, which I have no idea what it was, but it was.
It was enough. Well, it shows that every business, no matter how big you are, starts out as a small business. Like that, you know. Well, everybody uses Pledge. I mean, it's even sparked competitions. You know, and it started in his trunk.
The thing is that when you're starting to think about this stuff, there's a little bit of faith that goes with it.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
But his intention from the very beginning was to make something that he could mass produce when he got the market established. And so that you sit about and think about it, because you've got to have capital to carry your program. You've got to be able to buy your inventory. You've got to be able to deliver it if you're in a selling mode, or if it's a service thing. For instance, I'm always appalled that if I call the furnace man, I think it's $65 now for the furnace man to come. But he's a small businessman, and he's got a $15,000 truck there. He's got his training and his tools in the vehicle. And at $65 as a basic call, he couldn't work more than about 8 hours a day. and so at $65 a day, he's got a $500 possible day he can make, but I would be surprised if he could make 4 calls a day, even if he was busy. So he's down to $250, and out of that he's got to pay for running his truck and so forth. I don't really see how a furnace man can make a living at $65 with a minimum service call. He's just barely getting by. Now, these are the things you need to consider. All of the, and he's got to pay sales tax on all of that. So he's got to put the money aside out of the revenue that he gets, and he's scrambling to make a living. Now, the only way that would work is if he could hire somebody else and use their vehicle. But the thinking and the planning and answering the questions and revising the questions. We talked earlier about cash flow. If you had money for expenses, you got enough to last 2, 3, 4, 5 months and so forth, and then you put the cash back in from the sales, and you have to pay attention to this on almost a daily basis, certainly a monthly basis. So in the thinking and the planning is how are we going to account effectively our proposals and our situation. We make a budget. In some cases, you do this thing on a daily basis. In other words,
I would recommend in any kind of, well, like say a restaurant. You know, if you're going to start up a restaurant, I would do it on a daily basis to make sure that the cash flow was sufficient to cover costs. Because if not, you need to get out there and hustle up some more business. I would do it on a minimum a weekly basis, daily for a lot of businesses. Because it goes down quick.
We're getting into details here, but basically speaking, if you're going to start, you need to outline who are your customers. How many of them are there?
How many are you going to need?
You came here from Cleveland and started a gift shop. And I didn't say it at the time, but in Cleveland you had 3 million people.
Oh, in Cleveland it would have been a success, and it would have been
in the area. But it was a specialty business, and we're hard put to come up with 80,000 people in a 30-mile radius around here. So if you had 1%, you only got 8,000 people that you're going to deal with probably once a year. And
well, that's why I took that thing around to the fairs and festivals and cut out in the county.
It's very difficult in this rural area to find something that will pay its own way. Now, it's quite all right, as I mentioned about the guy with the furniture polish. He was working for a future benefit. His goal was way out there in the future, and he carried the expenses along on a daily basis.
Well, like with the blankies, I don't have a factory; they're all made in my sewing room, and a lot of the supplies. I mean, I at the beginning I bought a bunch of stuff, but I haven't bought any new supplies. Now I think I need some new binding. I need some red and purple. To go with some fabric, but I've been making with the supplies on hand, because like that I want it to take off, and it will take off, but it's just going to take some time, because this is a niche, and some people I've discovered parents are opposed to security blankets. And then when I explain to them, hey, that's not really good to say you can't have have a lovey, because they do provide things that the child needs. But like I got a location that I would love to turn into a blankie factory, but it's not going to happen for a while. They're still made out of the house.
Well, in this planning session type thing there, I had occasion back in the early 50s to cost out a water system from Minford, Ohio. And it's just in the last 5 years become a reality. There weren't enough people there to justify the capital. If you were putting in a water system, you'd have to have
everything,
pipes and
dig holes.
We even ignored at the time the legalities of getting easements and right-of-ways for pipes along the street. We didn't even put that in the figure. There just wasn't enough people there to
yeah, well, I understand that. That's why I'm not terribly upset about the way things are going.
Well, costing,
got to change some directions.
Yeah. Costing out your idea is the only way to tell whether you've got a possibility of a successful adventure.
Yeah.
Now, if you're non-profit, you still have problems there because
you still have to operate and pay your people and buy supplies.
You have so much money coming in. You have so much money for operating. We're in the convention or the center here in Portsmouth, Ohio, and the overhead. They have the property and the taxes and the overhead and the electric and the water and the gas, and they have daily expenses. And this comes in either from dues or assessments, or some things. They have a gift shop, so they make a little bit of money there. But all too often, gift shops are a non-profit venture. I mean, they
got to have a good traffic flow.
You need a lot of people to gain anything on it, because you have to have staff, and the adventures here, if you're going into a service thing, like I said, the guy at the furnace, he needs a truck and all of this stuff, insurance. You need to think of all of this stuff as to how it will fit out. The word that they use is depreciation, but it's average daily cost. If you had a truck and it lasts for 3 years and you paid $15,000 for it, you're going to have to cost you $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
So you break that down by days and weeks and months and so forth, and you got a daily cost there, an average daily cost. And if you're not covering that, your businesses.
Patrick and I made one of those for when I was thinking about buying the American. We sat down and figured out about how many customers per day needed to come in and buy and spend this much money to make it even worthwhile.
Right.
And well, it's closed.
No, but the thing was that the number.
The numbers weren't working. It was negative flow instead of positive flow.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions. I'm sort of off on the side here. I've been listening to some really good information. One of the things that I want to answer or get straight in my mind, many times when I sit down with businesses, one of the things that comes out of individuals' mouths and starting is that they don't want to become greedy. And I could never figure out what is greed and what is
need.
Yeah, good one.
And so, what's your thoughts on that?
All too often, the only way that you can be greedy if you have a monopoly on a particular product or service, and you inflate the price. Because normally speaking, if you're buying pencils, Terry's got pencils, Patrick's got pencils, I got pencils. The pencil goes for $1 or $1.25, and that's about it. If I can't buy it and sell it and make a profit within that range, then I'm not going to be in business. I'm just going to be waving my pencil in the air. And the greedy. There's a certain amount of, if you say need and greed, they interchange, because the proper approach to marketing is that you're going to get top dollar for your product at the least amount of cost.
Well, that's capitalism.
Well, no, that's trying to stay alive. If you were still with the barter system,
Yeah.
if you were going out and hunting rabbits, and I'm making slingshots, you come in and you're going to try to get a slingshot from me with one rabbit. And I want two rabbits.
Yeah, I got
okay?
you. Yeah, I understand.
Now, is that capitalism?
Yeah.
No, that's barter.
No, it's all capitalism. The whole thing.
The greed? I don't know. We talked about it earlier.
I think greed is like truth. It's subjective. One person's greed is another person's need. I mean, who am I to say that you can't possibly not live without that $100,000 million house? When I live in a shack. I mean, who am I? Greed, need. I don't know. That's a hard question. We need to look up the dictionary definition and see what it says.
I had the occasion of being part of a large multinational conglomerate, and now we were only one small group there, but they were getting ready to have a union or labor dispute, and was entirely unnecessary, because what they were arguing over was fringe benefits, and the company manager was saying that I'm not going to give them anything. They can't tell me how to run my factory. And the union was saying, oh yes we can, and it was a power struggle. And the one of the employees goes off on this diatribe, what was probably true back when before they got unions in the coal mines and in the auto factories and so forth, that the managers were exploiting the workers. And I hurt the guy's feelings by saying you couldn't be as stupid as what you just said. But the idea that a big corporation with millions of dollars of machines needs an operator. It's a co-op, actually, and I can't see why management and the unions don't get together to.
Well, I think it all comes down to greed need thing. The union says we need this, and the management says you're being greedy. Well, I don't know. That's a really good question. I'll have to think on that some more.
Well, the real answer to it is that if the labor force raises its price too high, then the management will find another source, which
or
they did.
Shut down and reopen down the street.
They took it to first the New England textiles went to the south, and then they went to Asia, and this is this comes back to the thinking of starting your business. If you're going to get involved in one of those particular situations, you need to think it through as to what balances. There's always the other side of the coin, and if you haven't considered that, it comes as a surprise and makes your lawyer rich.
Let me ask you another specific question. Is there too much government regulations interfering with small businesses?
From my perspective, having been in the accounting business, and usually the government regulation stuff ended up on my desk, it's certainly burdensome. The idea that you as a businessman have to hire a special person to keep track of the business side or the government side of your business. Now I can understand the health safety, and in the restaurant business, the inspections for health and
Well, that's what I was going to say. Regulations would depend upon what your business is, what you're doing, you know, whether it's too much or not enough. I don't know. I haven't had a lot of dealings with any kind of rate. Mine's so small. I don't have to.
Well, all of the government regulations end up costing the business owner
Right.
either time or money or both.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of having to hire someone outside, why would the government demand that you hire an expert, which is what they've done with the income tax? You got to hire an expert to understand, and even the government can't give you advice because they don't understand it either.
Well, let me ask you another particular question that I am always involved with, and one of them is, what's the difference between marketing and advertisements?
Oh, advertising is a specific area of that in your income and expense sheet you charge this to advertising. Marketing is to me is the whole concept of the type of product, who the your demographics. With the demographics, you use the demographics to spearhead your advertising campaign.
Well, advertising, I think of as more like it's like the print media or the radio or whatever. It's like your immediate stuff, and marketing is your overall strategy to get your message out there.
Even down to the politeness of the salesperson. That's part of your marketing concept, and if you go to McDonald's or Wendy Burgers or so forth, they've got enforcers that travel around to see if you are adhering to our marketing concept.
So here the marketing is active, you know. It's
well, it should be if you're doing it right.
Yeah, you mean getting out there hunting up new leads and opening up new areas to put your product out. And advertising is a tad more passive, and that can change on a daily basis, you know. And yeah.
Well, I had an occasion. You talk about marketing there. I had occasion to be in another conglomerate, and I was put in a position where I was responsible for this new product, the introduction. Now, they had been making it for several years, and they needed to get the volume doubled so that they could get their costs down. And so I sent out, got on the telephone. I could talk to anybody in the United States toll free. It was like Skype before Skype. And I asked the guy, so why can't we sell these things? And he says, well, he said that our customers are the sand and gravel companies, and they our company as a whole sells to only AAA credit people. Okay, and the sand and gravel people are not AAA. So the only way that we can sell this thing is effectively is through the distributorship. We sell them to the distributor, and the distributor sells them to the customer. Now, if the salesman went out and sold this $100 product to the customer, the bill was $100. If he sold it and his commission was based on the $100.
Right.
If he sold it to the distributor, his sale price was $50, and he only got credit for that. So the salesmen were reneging on going to the distributor and encouraging them to sell. In other words, they were price wise, they were in competition. Well, I put together a package and sent it out, and with the idea of telling the field salesman that he could increase his sales position by spending his time
90 seconds.
training the distributor's salespeople, and then he could multiply himself by 4 or 5 times. They could go out, sell this to the sand and gravel people, and he would increase his sales by 4 or 5%. Well, the only thing that I did was redefine the program. I didn't change a thing. I did supply the salesman with training material for the distributor. Sent it to him in an envelope. Said, "Here's."
Well, you identified the problem, you thought about it, and you overcame it, and we're out of time.
We boosted the sales 3 times.
Okay.
In other words, we oversold protection, and I was quite happy, and I got a bonus out of that one.
Okay.
I think we're at the end of our day.
Yes, we are.
Do we have anything to sum up, particularly, Patrick? Okay, we want to thank you for listening to our podcast today. We'll return with our continuing viewpoints next Tuesday at 2 p.m., and we'll discuss some more of this stuff.
Some more stuff.
I'm Steve.
I'm Teresa.
And thank you for listening. Think positive.
Be positive.
Live positive.
Enjoy.
And goodbye.
See ya. Don't forget to get some blankies.
Gigi Blankies, thank you for listening to the podcast today. This program is archived at Blog Talk Radio, captured and archived for YouTube video, and linked to Facebook as Musings with Steve and Teresa. Think positive, be positive, live positive, and enjoy.